Pada Ramadan tahun ini, masyarakat di seluruh dunia, termasuk warga Amerika dan Indonesia, sedang bekerja, belajar dan beribadah dari rumah. Meskipun kita berjauhan secara fizik, semangat kita tetap bersama dalam menjadikan bulan suci Ramadan sebagai momen untuk refleksi diri dan peduli dengan sesama. Saya Heather Variava, Kuasa Usaha at Interim Kedubes AS, mengucapkan selamat menunaikan ibadah puasa.
Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome back to Ad America TV. My name is Jasmine. I'm one of the e-guides at Ad America. And we would like to welcome all of our audience members joining us online today. We hope you all are doing well and staying safe. Ad America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. We have temporarily moved to a solely digital platform so you can enjoy all of our events in the comfort of your own home. For those of you joining us today, don't forget to use the comment box on each of your platforms that you joined today, so you can write your questions and so that our facilitator can answer them shortly during the event. So today we will be discussing digital iLearn at America travel photography workshop. This is our second session today. And as usual, we have a social media quiz. So for today's quiz, can you guys guess what is the meaning of the brand name Kodak? Is it A, the inventor's family name, B, a diversity of color, C, the name of the town where the inventor lived, or D, nothing? So you guys can choose from all four of those. And also, before we begin, we would like to do a little poll because we would like to know where did you hear about the event? You guys can choose one answer. Where did you guys know about this event? From our social media, or from our partner social media, from our Ad America website, or from other sources? And where are you watching this event from? And also, what is your favorite platform to stream digital events? Now, on this question, you can choose up to 3 choices. Would you prefer watching from Zoom, YouTube, Facebook Live, Periscope, or from our Ad America website? And the last is, what type of digital programs do you want to see from Ad America? You can choose up to 3 events. Okay, so stay tuned until the end of the event, and we will give live shout outs for those of you who answered our social media question correctly. And also, don't forget to take a selfie and tag Ad America's Instagram account, so people can know that you enjoyed today's event. All right, so without further ado, I would like to invite our moderator for today. Please give a warm welcome for our facilitator, Pak Andrew Suryono. Hello, Pak Andrew.
Hi, Jasmine. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect, perfect. So, shall I start?
Yes, you shall.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So, first of all, I'd like to thank you at America and also the U.S. Embassy for having me here. Today, we are going to talk about my favorite topic in the photography world, which is photography gears. I think everyone who is interested in photography want to know about gears, right? And so today I have made a presentation that will teach you what are the available gears out there, why I choose them, and how to use them. So without further ado, I will start. Okay. All right. So as you know, we have 3-session workshops. The first one I did last week, the 6th of May, and we talk about the ins and outs of travel photography. It's you know, my vision and how some tips on how you can create good travel photographs. And the second session is today, which is the 13th May. And we are gonna talk in depth about the essential travel photography gears. What should you bring with you during your travel? What should you get to get the best picture quality from your travel photos and so on. And the third session, it's gonna be really, really fun as well. You are going to see me live. You're going to see me edit my photo and basically edit some photos and then how I retouch my photo. What slider did I tweak to create a good looking photo and stuff. So you're gonna see me live on session 3. So make sure you register at that link, Andrews VIP/@America3, and you'll be on your way. So just a quick house rules to get the most out of this session. First of all is removing all distraction. It's helpful if you can go to a quiet room where you can concentrate, with little to no background noise, and put your Zoom on the speaker mode for the best viewing experience. And I strongly encourage participation to get the most out of this workshop. So what you can do is write your question on the chat. If you have a question, don't wait until the end of the presentation because you might forget the question that you're going to ask. So if you have any question, just pop in the chat box and type your question there. And during each session, I will take some time to answer the questions that might come up. And at the end of the session, I will hold a longer Q&A session to answer the remaining question that I might have missed. So the agenda for today is I want to talk a little bit about the current state of the photography industry and where are we at in terms of photography gears right now. And then I'm gonna talk in depth about camera. What are the types of camera that are available out there for travel photography, and which one should you choose, and which one am I currently using and why? Then I'm also gonna talk about lenses. Why are they so crucial in your travel photography? And lastly, I will talk about the supporting accessories. What accessories do you need to make your travel photography looks better and make your photo shooting process easier? Okay, let's start. So I'm gonna stop the screen share. Okay, so where are we now in terms of the photography gears? So I remember when I started photography, it was back in 2008. There were only 2 options. You can go with either Canon or Nikon. That's basically it. The other brands weren't really there. It was just like the infancy of the digital photography era, I guess. So yeah, there were not so many options. There were really 2 major to choose from, and you either choose Canon or Nikon. That's it. But for now, you have so many brands coming at you offering cameras, lenses. Everyone is claiming that they are the best, and it gets very, very confusing, especially for beginner. So when you are trying to start photography today, it's just mind-boggling and it's so confusing at the same time. It's amazing that we have so many options to choose from, but it's also very frustrating to choose which one should you pick. They have such a wide variety of product, and they give you pretty much the same price range and stuff. So it's hard. It's hard for a beginner to choose the right gear at this time. So. And everybody is doing the same thing. Like everybody is trying to advertise that their camera is the best one, including smartphone, which I find is funny. Like how come a phone is advertising their camera? Why not advertising their sound quality or faster processing speed and so on? But as you can see with the current marketing strategy of smartphone, they always say like, oh, we have improved our camera from the last generation. And then the next smartphone say like, we improved the camera from the last generation. And you know, it's funny because they're selling phone, not camera. So what's going on here? Okay. And also want you to believe that our camera is very easy to use, and all you need to do is just press this one button and you will get amazing picture. But speaking from experience, it's just a false belief that created by the advertising that those companies do. Don't fall into the belief that this is true, you know. Creating a great photograph is much more than just pressing one button on your camera. And lastly, they throw more and more technology into their camera, like smartphone and also camera manufacturers. They throw so much technology into their camera nowadays, and it can be quite overwhelming for the beginners. Like, what setting should I choose? Like, how do I do this to get the photo that I want? You have so many technology and you have so many options that you can do in the camera. But again, at the same time, it's very, very confusing for the beginners. So that's the current state that we live in now. It's so many options, but so many confusion at the same time. So let's start with the camera. I'm going to give you some information to make you better educated on how you can select and choose the right photography gear for your travel photography needs. And also, if you have any questions, you know, as usual, let me know on the chat box. So with camera, what do I look for when I purchase a camera? So number one is, of course, the budget, right? Everybody has a budget that they have to work with. And don't forget, keep your budget in mind, because it's very, very easy to overspend when you shop for a camera. I've been there, I've done that, and most of the time I always overspend because I don't pay close attention to the budget. And yeah, that's just the way it is. So yeah, pay close attention to your budget, and you know, set a limit so you don't overspend on things that you don't need. And next one is the sensor size. In general, the larger the sensor size that the camera has, the better quality photo you will get in various lighting conditions. We will do a camera test later on during the session, so you can see how I shoot one scene using my smartphone, and then my premium compact camera, and also my mirrorless camera. You will see it on my slides. The next one is lens interchangeability. If you choose to go with a mirrorless camera, you want to know like what kind of lens. So with the mirrorless camera, you can easily take off this lens and then, you know, install a different lens. And I also want to look like what kind of lens selection do they have available with their camera. So if they're, you know, if you buy an interchangeable mirrorless lens camera, but then you don't have many lenses to choose from, then what's the point of getting one? You know, you are much better off using like a pocket camera like this, where you have greater flexibility with the lens. So the whole point of choosing a mirrorless camera is because they let you to swap lenses, and you have to make sure that the lenses that they are offering is wide enough for your needs. Then also technology, you know, more and more camera manufacturers are putting the latest and greatest technology. I want to make sure that the technology that they are putting inside the camera is, number one, it's not too difficult to use, and number two, it's gonna make my photo taking process a lot easier. So you don't want to use technology because it looks cool, but you want to be able to use it easily, so it makes the whole photo making process easier. Next is the ergonomics. I usually go out to store and then I try to hold the camera, you know, with my hands, right? Usually people buy things online, but with camera, I think it's good if you can visit the store and hold the camera on your hands to see how it feels when you hold it on your hands. And remember, if you are doing travel photography, you might have to hold the camera on your hand for a long period of time. So make sure it's the comfortable ones for you. Make sure you pay attention to the weight, make sure you pay attention to the grip, the ergonomics, and etc. And lastly, I want to make sure that the camera is compatible with my smartphone. So a lot of the newer version camera have a very, very good communication with the smartphone. They usually come with an app, with a free app that you can download, and it will communicate easily with the smartphone. So when you take a photo with this camera and then you need to share it quickly on the social media, you can just do a NFC or a Wi-Fi tethering from this camera to your smartphone, and then you can just immediately send a better quality photo to your social media feed. Okay, that's the thing that I look for. So I'm gonna discuss in depth about the type of camera that exists today, and I think it's better if we start with a smartphone. I think everyone has a smartphone nowadays. It's very rare to find someone who doesn't have one, and usually with a smartphone you have a camera, the camera inside your smartphone. So what are some of the advantages of a smartphone camera? First, of course, it's very convenient. Like most people, they're on their smartphone most of the time during a day. So you kind of always have it with you. And it's also very easy to use with essential apps. For example, if I'm doing an Instagram streaming, then I just touch the apps and then just press a button and then it will activate the camera, and then I can just do my streaming and also with Zoom, FaceTime, and other program, it works like very well out of the box. You don't have to do any additional setup to use the camera on your smartphone with many apps. So those are the advantages of using a smartphone camera. But smartphone cameras also have a lot of disadvantages. The first one is it's not great at extreme or low light situation. We're going to do a test later on of the smartphone camera quality. And next, it doesn't have an interchangeable lens. I know more and more smartphones are putting more lenses. Like this one is my Android phone is a Huawei P30 Pro. They have a 3 camera behind the phone, so you can choose from ultra wide, standard, and then telephoto. But if you want to go beyond those cameras, then you're stuck. You can't change the camera on this phone. So basically, you're stuck with what they're giving you. And I think more and more smartphone manufacturers are realizing that people need more and more cameras. So the next generation will have more dots on the back. And it's funny because I saw like a joke on the internet, and they show like a graphic of the new smartphone, and they have like 20 different lenses on the back of the camera of the phone, which it's just crazy. Okay. And also it doesn't have the best of ergonomics. So when you use your smartphone to take a photo, if you do it on the landscape mode, then you're holding it like this, right? And then when you try to press the shutter, then you take one finger off and your camera becomes slightly wobbly and unstable. And this can result in blurry photo or slightly out of focus picture if it doesn't have a fast enough out of focus to adjust for the speed. And when you have too many apps open, it will become slow. Like I don't know how many times I want to take something very quickly, but then the camera always lags a bit because I had too many apps open. And this is a real problem because I think one person at the last session mentioned like the scenery when I travel moves so fast, like what do I do? Well, that's the kind of problem that you will have if you only use your smartphone, because I don't think the camera and the interface can keep up with such a fast changing pace of travel photography. And it doesn't have a lot of manual controls as well. Like when you see on the mirrorless camera that I have here, they really offer a lot of dials and buttons that really makes controlling your camera manually so much easier than with a smartphone. So with a smartphone, you're pretty much stuck with the built-in camera application that comes with it. And if you want more manual control, you have to download additional application that lets you to control the manual setting on your camera. But then again, it comes with additional cost in terms of storage space on your smartphone and also memory space. So that's something to consider. And lastly, when you see the photo that you take with your smartphone, it looks great on the screen of your smartphone, but when you view it at 100% or if you print it, then it's not going to look as good as what you see on your phone. So that's one thing to be mindful of. Smartphone camera manufacturers use a trick to make their photo looks better on their smartphone, pretty much. So they did something with the screen and they did something with the display to make the photo that you take using your smartphone looks good on the phone itself. But when you print it or when you send it to someone else, then you might see a different change of quality, and that's normal. So that is some of the disadvantages of smartphone camera. Okay, now after smartphone camera, we have a premium compact camera, right? It's small, it's pocketable, but it has a bigger sensor than your smartphone camera. And the advantages of the premium compact camera is the Sony RX100 Mark VII. It's convenient, it's pocketable, it's very easy to carry. I can just slip this in my pocket like this, right? And it's very, very handy. And it's pretty good at extreme situations. So at low light or high situation, it's pretty good. Has good ergonomics. You can hold it on your hands for quite a long period of time. Good responsiveness as well. It's much faster to start than your smartphone. See, it's already on and I can start shooting with this. So I don't have to worry about having too many apps open or, you know, it's sluggish because of the connection issue and stuff. You basically just press a button and it's ready to go. And it offers you plenty of manual controls. It has dials. Although it's small, it's still good. It's better. I'll show it to you closer. You have all the dials here and on the back here that offers you a greater manual control compared to your smartphone. And it will give you a much better detail compared to a smartphone camera when you print your photo or when you view your photo at 100%. Okay. Of course, the disadvantages is you can change the lens. Most of the premium compact camera have a fixed lens. So see, I cannot change the lens on this one, unlike this mirrorless camera. And also, if you are working, you know, in a very, very rough condition, like extreme cold or extreme heat, then this camera might not be up for the job. And yeah, you have to be careful on where you take this camera. Don't take it to the extreme environment, but other than that, it should be okay to use. Okay. Now, next one, we have the mirrorless camera. Okay, it's an interchangeable lens camera, right? So before the mirrorless camera came out, people are used to use the DSLR camera. But then DSLR camera has a moving mirror. So when you try to take a photo, the mirror will flip out of the way, and you know the camera will start taking a photo after the mirror flips out of the way. But a lot of people feel that the mirror in the DSLR camera it's unnecessary because, for one, they cannot see the image live. So when they change the setting and they look through the viewfinder of the DSLR, they cannot see the settings immediately. So some companies get rid of the mirror in the DSLR and then they create the mirrorless camera. Mirrorless means it has no moving mirror. Like when I open the lens on my camera, then you will not see any mirror. It's just a sensor. Right? Let me show it to you closer. There you go. Yep. The shiny thing inside is the sensor of this camera. So what are some of the advantages of using a mirrorless camera? Number one is excellent at extreme situation, high contrast, low light, any kind of lighting condition. This camera can handle it really, really, really nicely. Number two is, of course, the interchangeable lens. You can swap. For example, this is prime lens, which is a lens that I cannot zoom with. And then if I want to go longer with a telephoto lens, I can. I just attach this longer lens and then I'm ready to shoot. So it's very, very easy to change the look of your photo by changing a lens. Okay, and then it's extremely responsive. It's really, really quick. It's on and it's ready to shoot. Off, it's really, really quick, and yeah, it's basically it's ready whenever you are. It has great manual controls. I can just go to any dials here to change the setting really quickly. And it offers excellent detail when you print the result at 100%. And it's just really pleasant to work with when you do photo editing as well. And usually they are updated with the latest and greatest technology. The only downside of the mirrorless camera is that it's heavier than smartphone or than the premium compact camera, and you need a good logistical skill on how to carry and operate this camera. Basically, you need to learn how to use it to get the most out of this camera. But once you understand how to use this camera, then you can make such incredible images. Most of my images were made with either DSLR camera or a mirrorless camera. So just to let you know. Okay, do we have any questions up to this point? Let me see on the chat. Okay. I don't think we have any. Jasmine, should I continue, or do we have questions coming from Facebook or YouTube?
Yes, Pak, you should continue.
Okay, I will continue then. Okay. And
you have a question from
yes.
YouTube?
Okay,
Pak
sure.
Andrew, if I only have the budget to buy one type of camera, and my goal is to take landscape and also portrait pictures during traveling, which type of cam should I buy?
So he wants to, he can only buy one camera, and he wants to do landscape and portraiture.
Yes, during traveling.
Okay, during traveling, okay. Portraiture, you need a telephoto lens with fast aperture, and the landscape, you usually need a wide angle lens. So usually you cannot find both in a premium compact camera. So I would go for a mirrorless camera, and you get two lenses, basically a portrait lens with a fast aperture, which I'm gonna discuss about length of this session, and also wide angle lens or ultra wide angle lens. So the mirrorless camera with one portraiture lens and one wide angle or ultra wide angle lens. So that's my answer.
Okay. Next question is from Hayu Sasanti on Facebook. Where was the first travel photograph you took?
It was back in Alaska in 2002. You can see it on my previous slide, which I made it available online. I also made the slide available, and you can see the picture is of an iceberg that I took at Alaska. That was back in 2002, and I was still using my pocket camera. It's not even a professional yet. So yeah.
Okay, and we have another question from YouTube from Karima Yunisa. Question for Pak Andrew. Which camera is best for a beginner that only travels 1 to 3 times max in a year?
Okay, if you want to, if you only travel 1 to 3 times a year, and I will recommend the premium compact because number one, it has wide focal length range, ranging from the wide to the telephoto end, and it's very easy for you to carry. So if you only travel 1 to 3 times a year, then you could just take one camera with you and just be on your way. And also it will give you much better quality than your smartphone camera. So if you are traveling to a new place, then you want to take better photo with, a better camera compared to your smartphone, right? If you travel to that place very frequently, then it's okay to use your smartphone because you have easy access. But if you only travel 1 to 3 times a year, then you might not visit that place again in the future. So, and yeah, I think this is the one that I would recommend, the premium compact camera.
Okay, and we have another one from Norita Nariza. I want to ask how to fix moldy camera lens. I have Canon DSLR, but always intend to fix it.
Yes, you are pretty much out of luck. Sorry, but that's true. How to fix? Okay, I should rephrase your question. How to stop that from happening? Okay, so to stop that from happening, all you do is dry box. A dry box is basically it's a box that controls the humidity. Indonesia and especially most countries in Southeast Asia are known for really high humidity, and humidity is the enemy of any electronic gears. And also lenses. You know, when you leave your lenses out there for a long period of time, it gets exposed to humidity and some moisture can creeps in onto your lens and it will cause the molds to form. So in order to do that, you need to buy a dry box and put your camera, lenses, and any electronic device that can fit there inside your dry box. So don't, learn from this mistake. I mean, if I were you, I would just sell that piece of equipment and, use the money to buy a new one and also buy a dry box to protect it from happening again. So that's my answer. Yeah.
So can you still actually use the lens even though it has a mold?
You can test in with different aperture. So for instance, your lens is 0.8 max, you do a shot f2.8, you do a shot at f5.6, and then you do a shot at f11 and f22, and see whether you can see the mold inside your picture. If you cannot see it, then you can use it. But along the way, as we go on in time, the mold will just grow larger and larger and larger. And at one point, you will not be able to take picture with it because the mold will just grow. They're a living organism. They will grow and they will pretty much eat up your lens. So.
Okay, Pak Andrew, there are no more questions, so you can continue with your presentation.
All right, great. So we have discussed the some of the advantages and disadvantages of smartphone, premium compact, and also mirrorless camera. Now let's see what how they perform in my camera stress test. Okay, I'm gonna start screen sharing again. Okay. This is what I call a camera sensor stress test. So basically what I did is I go to the darkest room inside my house, and then I shoot the same scene with different cameras and then see how they compare, right? So I use my smartphone camera, I use my premium compact camera, and I use my mirrorless lens camera to shoot exactly the same scene under a very, very poor lighting conditions, very, very dark. So this is the scene that you see, that I see with my own eyes, and then I will use my smartphone camera and then take a shot of this scene with ISO 100. Basically, short word about ISO. Usually, the lower your ISO, the cleaner your image will look. But as you bump the ISO higher, then you will see like an artifact, so it's like a noise. We call it noise in the digital photography world. So if you're a landscape photographer, you want to keep your ISO as low as possible. And generally, when you shoot any kind of a scene that has a lot of details, you want to keep your ISO as low as possible. But sometimes you cannot do this because the shutter speed will get too low, and then you have to resort in using a tripod and other means to keep your camera stable. So at ISO 100, this is what I get when I shot the scene using my Android phone. So with the Android phone that I have, I can set the ISO to 100, and this is the scene that I get. So it looks clean, but one thing to notice is that it looks brighter than what my eyes actually see. I don't know if this is because the algorithm that they put inside software, or the lens setting. It just looks brighter than what my eyes actually see. And also I see there's one red pixel in the middle of it. I can show it to you here, but when you download my PPT later on, you can see it. It's right there on the TV screen. There's one little red dot that I didn't see it with my eyes, and it didn't appear with my mirrorless and my premium compact. So maybe it's just another algorithm issue there. So this is the one that I shot using the Huawei P30 Pro Android phone. And next one is the one that I took this with the premium compact camera. It's the Sony RX100 Mark VII ISO 100. And this one is with the Sony A9 mirrorless camera. So as you can see, it looks much more natural. It has better transition from shadow to highlight area, meaning from dark to the bright part area is not as harsh as the smaller sensor cameras. So this is one of the advantages that a mirrorless camera has. So I think 100, everything looks good, which you should expect it to be. And also remember, I mount this on a tripod, so shutter speed is not an issue. To take this one shot, I have to wait 10 seconds. So forget about using your hands to do this kind of shot, because it will look really, really blurry. Okay, just one thing to keep in mind. And next, I'm bumping up the ISO to 1600. Now, this is taken using the iPhone 8 Plus. With the iPhone, I really cannot change the ISO setting using the built-in camera app on my iPhone. So basically, I just have to accept what it is giving me. And in this situation, getting ISO 2000 iPhone 8 Plus, this is what I get. Now you can see that even though it's showing some details, but I think it has a very rough algorithm in terms of handling noise. So basically, they are sacrificing a lot of details, a lot of little details, so to eliminate the noise. So what you see there is a very, very a noisy image with lots of rough edges. Yeah. Next, this is taken with the Android phone, which is the Huawei P30 Pro. Again, you start to see some noise for me, especially on part of the picture and also the shadow part. And some details are starting to get lost as well. And this one is using the premium compact camera, the Sony RX100 Mark VII. Much less noise than the smartphone camera, but there are still some noise, but the details are well protected. Everything still looks sharp and nice. And this one is taken using the mirrorless camera. I barely can see any difference between the one that I took using ISO 100 and the one that I took at ISO 1600. So everything still looks smooth and looks really clean at this ISO level. And I'm gonna crank it up to the max again, ISO 6400. This is where things starts to get really, really tough for the camera sensor, because you crank up the ISO so high and then you will see a lot of noise coming up from the sensor, especially the smaller sensor. So this is what I get using the Android phone. The iPhone cannot shoot up to the ISO 6400. Only the Android camera can, and there you have it. You see a lot of noise. Noise is just like a digital sand that you see all over the picture. You know, you can see it on the TV, you can see it on the wardrobe, and they are very, very prevalent, especially on the darker area of your image. So this is way too noisy for my taste, and I wouldn't use my smartphone camera on the ISO 6400. Then moving on to the premium compact camera, there are more noise, but still manageable, not as noisy as the smartphone camera. Much cleaner. You can see it handles the noise very well. And lastly, with the mirrorless camera, again, I don't see much of a difference between the ISO 6400 and the ISO 1600. There are very, very minor addition in terms of noise when I shot this at ISO 6400. So it really shows you that under extreme condition, the larger sensor will outperform any smaller sensor cameras, especially at the higher ISO setting. Okay. So, and a smartphone camera and all other smaller sensor camera also have a problem with the high contrast scene. And high contrast scene is, you know, when you shoot directly to the sun, you will have so many issues when you shoot with the smartphone camera. Like you will not get the sun star like that one with a smartphone camera. You can only get it when you use wide angle lens and set it to f11 and smaller aperture with a mirrorless camera. Okay. Oh, and then do we have any questions up to this point, Jasmine? Before I move on and showing the latest camera technology?
Not yet, Pak.
Sorry?
We don't have any new questions yet.
You don't have? Okay. All right, cool. So I will show you the future of photography. So in the future, photography will be tied in closer with artificial intelligence. So what I mean is the camera will be able to identify what subject we are shooting, and then they will make the adjustment accordingly to make our picture taking process easier. Now, what I have is my mirrorless camera, and I'm gonna do a quick test shot. So basically, the mirrorless camera that I have has technology called eye recognition. So when it sees a subject, it will be able to identify where the eyes of the subject is, and it will, you know, lock in the focus there. Let me see. Set up things here. Okay. I'm gonna stop the screen share and I will connect my camera. Should be okay. Can you see the scene from my camera? Yes. Cool. So if you can see the Spider-Man, that it means you are looking through my camera's lenses. All right. I think everyone has no problem with that.
Yeah, we can see it, Pak.
Cool. You can see the Spider-Man.
Yes.
All right. So with this artificial intelligence technology, I have a photo of a girl here. She's a model that I shot. So basically, we can easily track her face. So it's recognizing the face. And so what's more incredible is now the camera can recognize the eyes. So see, when I'm not pressing anything, when I'm not pressing the shutter button, it will show a white rectangle that tells me that, hey, I see a person's face. And then when I press the shutter, then my camera knows where to focus, because usually when you shoot a person, you want to focus on his or her eyes. And with this technology, you can do this really, really easy, right? And that's one. And also it works with, hold on. Now you can see, you can change whether you're shooting human or you are shooting animals. With animals, let me see if I can pull up a photo of a pet. Okay. One moment. Okay, now see, it also works with pet or mammals. So if I shoot animals now, I can be sure that their eyes are also in focus. Now, as of now, I'm using the Sony camera. As of now, Sony only supports only certain kind of animals, which is the dog, cats, and other mammals, but they are still not supporting reptiles or birds or other things. And another technology is continuous autofocus tracking. So I'm gonna try to focus on the Spider-Man here. And if I take the Spider-Man and move him closer, then he will always be in focus. And if I move him to left, right, to up and down, then, oops, took a picture accidentally. Yeah, you will see that he will always be in focus and not on the background. So you can shoot a really, really fast moving subject with the AI technology. So that's short demonstration of what AI and camera technology can look like. Screen. All right. So okay, now I'm going to talk about lenses. So one of the strengths of mirrorless camera is you can swap the lenses, as I've told you before in the presentation. So what to look for when you buy a lens? First, of course, I will look back on your budget, right? A lens can cost a lot of money. Usually, it costs less than the camera, but for some of the higher end lenses, it can cost more than the camera itself. So really, a professional grade lens will have more durability compared to the entry level lens. So just be aware, lenses are also pricey too. So you need to factor that on your overall budget when you're shopping for a camera. And then I will look for the focal length. So focal length is what your camera will see. So usually it's written in millimeters. I have the 70 to 200 millimeter lens here. At the widest end, it's going to be 70 millimeter, and the most level end, it will going to be 200 millimeters. Then I will also look at the aperture. It's how wide the aperture is, and the wider the aperture, the easier you can get an autofocus blur, and also the faster shutter speed you can use. And also I will look at the characteristics such as the distortion, the vignetting, the sharpness, and the fringing, and I'll show you what I mean by that in the next slides. Also autofocus speed, and especially if I'm shooting a fast-moving subject such as wildlife or sports, you want to make sure that your lens is quick in terms of autofocus. And also the build quality. I don't really like to purchase a lens that's made mostly from plastic. I usually like it made from the magnesium alloy, or on the old days, like mostly from steel. It's heavier, but it's a lot more durable than the plastic kit lens. Okay, let's talk about focal. Screen sharing again. Okay, focal length is basically what does it see? What does your lens? What can your lens see with the given focal length? Wide usually have a low millimeter number, and telephoto usually have a high millimeter number. For example, 16 is a low number, and usually it's a very, very wide angle lens. And 200 millimeter is a telephoto because it has a high millimeter number. And then also aperture. Aperture is how your lens see. I will demonstrate to you what I mean. Aperture, usually you have a low number. So f1.4 is a low number, and we call it fast in photography world. It has a fast aperture. Slow aperture, it's like 8, 11, 22. It has a high number, that means it's a slow aperture. It can be confusing. It was confusing for me at the beginning, but you'll get used to it as we go. So I shoot the same scene using different focal length. So I shot this on my backyard using the mirrorless camera with a 24 millimeter lens. And pay attention on what part of the image you can see using the lens. So how I shot this is I mount my camera on a tripod, and I just basically switch focal length without moving the camera or the tripod. From the same location, this is what you will get. So this was shot using the 24 millimeter lens, 35 millimeter lens, right? 50 millimeter. As you can see, it will kind of compress your field of view as you move along on the focal length range. 70 millimeter. And finally, 104 millimeters. So you can see the difference, right? This is going from, this is going from 24, 35, 50, 70, and 105. So that's what focal length can do for you. And another thing to pay attention is the compression of the focal length. So when you shoot using a wide angle lens, you will see that the distance between one subject to the next one is exaggerated. So the object farthest from you will look really, really small, and the object closest to you will look really large, as you can see from this example. You see when you shoot at 24 millimeter, the can at the very back looks really small compared to the can at the very front. But when you go to 300 millimeter, then everything looks like the same size. Okay. So what does it mean? So most smartphone they use a wide angle lens, and when you try to do a selfie with like an interesting object behind your back, but it's further away, then you will see like your face and your bodies get exaggerated, but the object behind you gets really, really tiny and small. So that's one problem that people are having when they shoot using a smartphone camera. And that's because smartphone camera usually use a wide focal length, and that's the characteristic that you get when you have a wide focal length. Okay, and then aperture is basically how your camera sees the object. I think at the last session, there was one question that asked me like, how come the foreground on my orangutan in the rain photo is slightly out of focus, but the eyes is sharp, but the back is also out of focus? So because I use a wide aperture. So wide aperture means lower number, like 1.8, 2.8, and then the mid-range is f5.6, f8, and then the very, very small aperture is f11 and f22. So this is a shot that I did using different kind of aperture. I shot this one using my mirrorless camera again with the 35mm lens, and at f1.8, I was focusing on the W letter. So if you see, the W letter is in focus, but the letter after it, which is the E letter, is starting to get out of focus, and all the letters after that is very much out of focus. And notice also that the Q letter is half in focus, half out of focus. The tab key is out of focus. So you are only choosing to focus on a certain area when you shoot using a fast aperture.
Okay,
Next, I will.
Andrew?
Yes. Yes.
Andrew, we have about 4 minutes left, and we
Okay.
have some questions for you.
Sure. Yeah. After this is gonna be accessories, and then I'll be done. So.
Okay, but yes.
All right. Yeah. And then this was shot at f5.6. You know, everything starts to look in focus, and then f11. And this is f22, which is pretty much, you can see all the letters on the keyboard. All right. Now we are going to see some lens characteristic, which is distortion. Barrel distortion usually happen on wide angle, and pincushion usually happen on telephoto. Vignetting is the darkening of corners, and also chromatic aberrations. It's better to see them in picture. So this is a barrel distortion. So everything looks like, you know, rounded like a barrel. Usually happen with a wide angle lens. And pincushion, everything looks like slimmer. Usually happen at the extreme telephoto end. And also vignetting, usually it's the darkening of the corner. So if you have a very cheap lens, then vignetting usually happens a lot. And chromatic aberration is the fringing, the purple or the blue fringing that happen on the edge of a high contrast scene. Usually if your lens is not good enough in capturing the light, then you will get chromatic aberrations. And lastly, we have several accessories that I would recommend you to get. Number one is extra batteries. Don't forget to get extra batteries when you travel, because it's not funny when you are out of battery. You will not be able to make a photo. And then also extra memory card. I usually have a case full of memory card in case I need extra storage when I travel. And my suggestion is to get one with good read and write speed. Also, I usually carry a lightweight tripod with me. So when I want to do a slow shutter speed or do like a group photo with me and my family, I can do that as well. And filters, I recommend getting at least 3 polarizing, GND, graduated neutral density filter, and neutral density filter. I personally don't use filter myself, but if I'm traveling to a location that I know I'm going to be shooting a lot of landscapes, then I will carry my filter. But other than that, I would just leave them at home. And then you want to carry your smartphone and install some apps that's going to be helpful for you to have during your travel. It's for me, it's the PhotoPills app and also the native imaging edge that the Sony application has. So yeah, that's pretty much all the accessories that I recommend you to get and also. Not to forget your laptop and photo editing software. I use Lightroom and Luminar, which I'm going to show you on our next session. So make sure you register for the final session. Okay, so I'm on the closing session. So what we have learned so far, we are presented with many options, which can be confusing for beginners. And don't fall into the false belief, don't fall into their advertising trap that your gear will do everything for you. You are the master and you need to control them. And having the right knowledge to choose your gear is crucial, and spend some time to master your gear. Everything has its own advantages and disadvantages, and learn to use them and use them accordingly. And sensor size affects image quality, and lens plays a big role in how your photos will turn out. And this is the 3rd session. Don't forget to register. And also, I'm going to be uploading the video and also the PPT slides on the resource page, which is andrews.vip/@america. And with that in mind, I am ready to answer the questions.
Okay, Pa Andrew. So we have a couple
All
of
right.
questions. We have
Okay.
one from Peter. So Pa Andrew,
Okay.
after AI, what will be the latest feature or tech will be on camera and photography?
So I think it's gonna be AI. Okay, AI is still at its infancy right now, so we will see more and more AI. We still don't know how AI will turn out yet in the bigger picture. So we will just see the AI growing in the future and how AI can play with the camera and with the photography industry.
Okay, and then another question from Peter. He said, "Do you think that cameras in phones will ever replace a mirrorless camera?"
Okay, I don't think it will. I think the photography industry will be split apart into two categories. You know, the casual photo taker, which are happy with the photo that they get from the smartphone camera, and also the more serious crowd, which is they want the best quality and they can get it from a mirrorless camera. So most people who ask this kind of questions, like can it ever replace the mirrorless camera, they really haven't shot with, you know, the two worlds. You know, I've shot with smartphone, I've shot with a premium compact, I've shot with APS-C sensor camera, I've shot with a full frame camera, I've shot with a medium format camera, and what we are dealing here is not only the AI or the technology, but also the physics. Sensor size is on the physical realms. It's not on the technology realm. So unless you can deal with the physics side, I don't think it will ever happen. You know, usually, you know, if you have bigger paper, you have bigger paper. No technology can replace that, right? So when you have A3, then you know you can see your picture bigger there compared to if you only have A4 or A5. So that's one thing. So we are not only dealing with technology, but we are only dealing with physics. Technology can move forward, but then physics will always have its place. That's my answer.
Okay, Pak. And we have a question from Christian So on Facebook. Hai Pak, boleh tahu type body kamera yang Bapak gunakan sekarang untuk presentasi dan merek apa untuk lensa telenya?
Okay, I am using the Sony A9, Sony Alpha 9 for the body, and for the tele lens, this wide lens is the Sony 70-200 f4. They have two versions of this lens. I like the lighter version for my travel, and it's the f4. I don't really need the f2.8 for my use.
Okay, and another one from Septian Maulana from YouTube. Pak Andrew, I'm still having a hard time taking pictures with my Canon camera using manual setting. Do you have any suggestions for ISO, aperture, and shutter speed setting under certain conditions like outdoors, indoors, or with more or less lighting? My lens is 18 to 200 millimeter, f-3.5 to 5.6 IS.
All right. I think you're still on the mindset that your camera will do everything for you, and you are asking for that one recipe that can, you know, pretty much do everything for you. But to be honest, you have to think of it like this way. It's like, you know, you're learning martial arts. Let's say you're learning karate, right? Do you, when you get into that arena to spar with your opponent, do you only have like one move? Like, no, you will adapt your move according to the situation, right? So what most people are struggling when they learn photography, they come from a fully automatic setting like the smartphone, you know, or like a pocket camera, and then their instructor tell them to go full manual, which I think it's very frustrating, especially for beginners. There are a semi-automatic mode. You know, you have the automatic mode, and then you have the manual mode. So those two are the two extremes, but there are some in-between modes, which is the aperture priority mode and the shutter priority mode. So basically, when you are on the aperture priority mode, is all you need to care about is your aperture. So you change that number and then find find a look that you want, and the shutter speed and the ISO and everything will adjust accordingly, or automatically, I should say. And with the shutter speed, it's the same thing. You adjust the shutter speed, and everything else will be adjusted automatically. So I think before jumping to fully manual, if you don't understand what fully manual mode will do for you, at this stage, I will take it slow. You go back to full auto first, and then you look at the 3 variables, right? You have aperture, you have shutter speed, and then you have ISO. Then you move to aperture priority, which all you need to care is about aperture. Then you experiment with aperture from there. You will see what aperture can do for your picture. And then you move on to the shutter priority mode. All you need to do is change the shutter and get very comfortable with that. And in the end of the day, you will be very comfortable when you jump into manual mode. I personally use aperture priority mode most of the time. And I use manual mode when I'm working in the studio, or when I deal with extreme low light situations, such as shooting the Milky Way, or very low light situation and that stuff. So manual mode is not the answer for everything, but yeah, you need to spend some time to learn about the semi-automatic mode before you get into the fully manual mode. So that's my answer to your question.
Okay, Pak, we still have 2 more questions. We have a question from Yoga Saldi on Instagram. Okay. Hello, Andrew. Question: what do you suggest doing to avoid red eye when capturing with a smartphone?
Turn off your flash.
As simple as that.
Yes, turn off your flash.
Okay.
And use, I don't have it with me, but there is like a small LED light. Okay, I think I have it. Hold on 1 second. I'll get it real quick. So instead of using a flash that comes with your smartphone camera, there is an LED light which you can use to light your subject if you need more light. See? This is a bigger one. They have a smaller one that you can use. So basically, you just have this on with you on one hand, so you can light your face better, right? Like this. And then you take a picture. This will eliminate red eye 100% of the time, guaranteed, if you need more light. If you don't need more light, then I suggest you turn off the flash.
Okay, so you should bring an LED light in order to eliminate the red eye problem. All right, last question from Viviol Vita on Facebook. Hello Pak Andrew, aku mau nanya nih, kalau pemula yang mau belajar foto jarak jauh, bagusnya beli lensa apa untuk beginner?
Okay, for beginner, I would recommend getting like an all-in-one lens, which is you can go wide, but you can go to tele as well. So you get to experience the different focal length. And then if you need more quality, later on you can also, get more lens to supplement that lens. So usually, I would say it depends on your sensor as well. APS-C sensor, I would recommend you get 18 to 200 millimeter lens, and for a full frame sensor, I will recommend you to get 24 to 200 millimeter lens. So it covers from wide angle, normal, and to telephoto. And then you can just focus on the telephoto part of it. And if you only want to focus on the telephoto part of it, I'm not sure what you're trying to capture, because when we are speaking about long range, we have things ranging from sports, portrait, wildlife. So it really depends on how far you go. So my advice to you is to decide on what kind of subject you want to shoot, and then you get the focal length that supports that.
Okay, Pak Andrew, thank you so much. That was the last question for today. Thank you for today's session, our second session today, and we will see you again next week. All right, so earlier in the event, we asked you, what's the meaning of the brand name Kodak? And the answer is D, nothing. Kodak has no real meaning. George Eastman, the founder of Kodak, said that the letter K sounded strong, so he formed a word around it. So shout out to Damar Prakoyo from YouTube for answering correctly. Congratulations, Damar. And thank you everybody for participating today. Don't forget to tune in next time and get a chance to get a shout out from us. So some of you may be wondering, how can I develop an awesome idea for a place like this? Don't worry, you guys can go to our website at www.adamerica.or.id, select create a program, and go to collaborate with us. All proposals coming to us will be reviewed, and your event might get a chance to be featured here soon. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter on our website, and we will give weekly updates straight to your inbox. All right, so this wraps today's event. I'm so sorry we have to say goodbye, but we will see each other soon. Don't forget to follow us on our social media, on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, on AT America. And also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well for fun content, updates, and so many more. All right, thank you for joining in today, and see you at the next Ad America TV event. Bye-bye, everybody.